Grab a shovel because Assignment Discovery is about to dig into the empires of early Africa.
First, we'll explore how the fertile banks of the Nile gave birth to one of the continent's greatest civilizations in the Nile, where Egypt began.
Then, we'll uncover the tumultuous reign of one famous Egyptian queen, in Nefertiti Resurrected.
Next, we'll discover how the Ghana and Mali empires were formed in Sub-Saharan Survey.
And finally, we'll travel to Timbuktu and see how one African king transformed it into a center for Islamic learning and culture in Islam Comes to Timbuktu.
Mummies, mysteries, and more coming up next.
As you watch the first half of this program, keep these questions in mind.
Why do civilizations rise near bodies of water?
How do archaeologists learn about the past?
One of the most successful civilizations of the ancient world developed in Egypt. Commerce, agriculture, and art flourished there, and the River Nile was at the heart of it all.
What's the heart of your school?
The assembly area.
Definitely the senior couches. That's where all the activity goes down. The upper commons, lower commons.
Safe room.
The entrance.
It's like separate from the cafeteria, so it's nice and quiet.
Couches, we always hang out there whenever free time between classes or after school.
For me, it's the attic theater.
The theater.
Probably the lunchroom.
To me, the classroom is the most important place.
Throughout history, water has been at the heart of the growth of civilization. And nowhere is this more clear than in Egypt, along the banks of the River Nile. The River Nile flows for 4,000 miles, from the heart of Africa to the Mediterranean Sea, northward. The river floods once a year. Each time, it soaks the desert land of Egypt with water and deposits a layer of rich silt, or fine soil. This makes the Nile Valley a good place to grow food and other agricultural goods. But food was not the only thing that sprang up along the Nile. It's also where the Egyptian civilization grew. How did the Nile promote civilization? To control the Nile's annual floods, people cooperated to build dikes and irrigation ditches. These channeled the rising river and helped the people store water for the dry season. People needed to work together to survive. As more and more people moved to the region and worked together, a powerful river civilization emerged. Ancient Egypt was made up of two regions, Upper Egypt in the south and Lower Egypt in the north. Both depended on the river's waters. About 3100 BC, Menes, the king of Upper Egypt, united the two regions. He and his successors used the Nile like a highway between northern and southern Egypt. Officials and armies could get to all the towns along the river to make sure people did what the king wanted. In this way, the Nile helped make Egypt the world's first unified state. But the United States needed a bigger food supply to grow. By irrigating the land around the Nile, the Egyptians grew the food their growing civilization needed. What helped irrigation and farming develop in Egypt? It was the invention of the shadoof. With a bucket at one end and a weight at the other, the shadoof works like a seesaw to raise water from one level to another. Its invention led to a dramatic increase in irrigated land because now people could easily move water where they needed it. The Egyptians also built their civilization with the wealth generated by the Nile. In addition to the food it provided, the Nile also provided transportation. Traders from elsewhere on the continent brought a constant supply of goods down the river. Gold, ivory, ebony, incense, and furs from tropical Africa flooded in to increase the pharaoh's wealth. Egyptian merchants traveled up and down the Nile in sailboats and barges made of papyrus, a riverbank reed that can grow 15 feet tall. Papyrus was also a vehicle for language and ideas. By beating it into flat strips and pressing it together, Egyptians made the first paper. The wealth the Nile provided allowed the Egyptians to build great buildings and monuments. The pyramids of Giza are the largest stone structures ever built. Pyramids were built as majestic tombs for the pharaohs of Egypt. How were these great tombs built? There's a popular idea that slaves built the pyramids, but scientists now think that off-season farmers did the work. Driven from their land by the Nile's annual floods, the farmers were eager to earn a living during the 3 months when their fields were underwater. And they built the pyramids using mud from the Nile. The history of ancient Egypt as a river civilization is tied to the Nile. For 5,000 years, the statues of the pharaohs have stood guard over the river. They are enduring monuments to the river and the civilization it helped create.
Did you know? The Nile stretches for 4,160 miles and passes through 9 countries, making it the longest river in the world. Today, the Nile supports farming in the most densely populated parts of Egypt. Its waters also supply hydroelectric power.
Ancient Egyptians mummified their leaders so that they would continue to thrive in the afterlife, and given Nefertiti back her name.
Having restored their potential identity is sort of giving them access back into the afterlife. You are restoring their name. To speak the name of the dead is to make them live again. That's what the ancients believed, and in some ways, that's what I believe too.
After more than 3,000 years, the curse on Nefertiti has finally been lifted.
You've been given all the information. Now it's your turn to discuss the questions. Take a moment to talk about the following.
Why do civilizations rise near bodies of water?
How do archaeologists learn about the past?
If you'd like to learn more about what you've just seen, go online or check out these books at your local library.
As you watch the second half of this program, keep these questions in mind.
How can trade affect a growing civilization?
How can wealth help make leaders and their ideas more popular? The gold and salt trade brought the African empires of Ghana and Mali tremendous wealth. But goods weren't the only things that came from these trade routes. Culture, language, religion, and power were also picked up along the way.
Does money bring power?
In our culture, money brings power because people respect people with money more.
You're able to buy influence over people.
Without money, really, you can't get your message across with like the mass media.
I think in a lot of ways money brings power because people like Donald Trump and stuff can affect a lot of different people's lives and jobs simply because they control so much.
I think that people that have more money feel like they have more power, but I don't think that necessarily it's true.
Not all power comes from money because in order to be a king, you need to be a good leader and a strong leader and help your country.
People like Gandhi had a lot of power. Like, people respected him even though he didn't have money. They respected him for like his visions.
Africa is the second largest continent. With more than a fifth of the world's land area, it's a place of great variety. Africa has high plateaus, lush rainforests, rolling grasslands, tall mountains, deep valleys, and harsh deserts. Africa is home to the world's largest desert, the Sahara. This huge expanse of sand and rock forms a divide between the terrain and the people of Africa. Arabs and Berbers live to the north, while the region south of the desert is home to many ethnic groups of Africans with different cultures, languages, and religions. Along the southern edge of the Sahara, the desert gives way to a broad savanna of grasslands dotted with trees. Great herds of animals such as elephants and zebras have roamed the savanna for thousands of years. Two of Africa's greatest kingdoms grew up in West Africa south of the Sahara, along the Niger River in the modern country of Mali. The first of these great trading empires was Ghana. It was founded around AD 300 by a people called the Soninka. They may have been the first West Africans to make iron. Their iron tools and weapons gave them an advantage over other groups in West Africa, whom they conquered to create a strong state, the Kingdom of Ghana. The kings of Ghana built their power on the trade of two key products, gold and salt. Gold was the basis of currency in most parts of the world, and West Africa had lots of it. So Arab and Berber traders from North Africa were willing to risk crossing the Sahara to trade with West Africa. In turn, the West Africans needed salt, which came from mines in the desert. A thriving gold and salt trade developed. Ghana, at the center of the caravan routes, grew rich by taxing the traders and created a great empire. The traders brought more than just salt and other goods. They brought a new religion, Islam. The kings of Ghana welcomed Muslim traders, but they didn't adopt their religion. Instead, they allowed traders to establish their own Muslim trading towns. But around 1050, an extreme Muslim religious movement arose among the desert Arabs. Its followers, called Almoravids, waged war on all non-Muslims. In 1076, they swept into Ghana, capturing its capital and forcing the people of Ghana to convert to Islam or be killed. Almoravid control over Ghana lasted only about 10 years, but the empire never recovered. A new empire soon grew up along the Niger River. A young prince of the Mandinka people, related to the Soninka, took control of the former capital of Ghana in 1235 and established the Empire of Mali. The people of Mali recaptured the gold-producing areas and brought back the profitable trade in gold and salt. Like Ghana before it, Mali became rich, powerful, and the envy of other African nations. Mali's territory expanded north and west of the Atlantic Ocean. By the 14th century, Mali reached its height of power, covering an area about the size of Western Europe. But unlike those in Ghana's empire, the people of Mali accepted Islam. This shared religion gave Mali closer ties to the Muslim cities of North Africa. And as Mali expanded its empire, it helped spread Islam. Cities like Timbuktu, Gao, and Janneh still show signs of the impressive mosques and Islamic learning centers built during Mali's rule. When Mali finally weakened, another empire arose. Centered in the city of Gao, the Songhai Empire also encouraged the spread of Islam across West Africa. The lasting impact of these empires can still be seen today. Millions still speak the languages of Mali and Songhai. Many traditional West African songs, dances, and stories have been passed down for centuries. The marketplaces, first used by gold and salt traders, still bustle with activity. And Islam still lives in these areas, alongside traditional African religions.
Did you know? Mali's ruler, Sundiata, started a cultural exchange program for children of prominent leaders. It required the children to travel to foreign courts to learn about different ways of life. Sundiata hoped this would lead to an understanding of other people and eventually peace.
The Malian king Mansa Musa used his great wealth and power to spread the religion of Islam in his empire and along its trade routes. These religious influences can still be seen in Western Africa today.
How can religion influence culture?
Religion sort of brings people together, like groups them into, unifies them.
And a lot of people base their moral compass on religion.
In my family, food is very important in a typical Jewish family.
Religion tells you how to live, how to eat, how to dress.
People have cross necklaces.
I still think a religion affects so many people on such a personal level that it's going to affect how we view things culturally.
The savannas of West Africa were home to two of Africa's greatest ancient trading empires. Both grew up along the banks of the Niger River in the modern nation of Mali. The first of these empires was called Ghana. Ancient Ghana built its power on the rich deposits of gold that can still be found in the region. Ghana grew rich by controlling a lucrative gold and salt trade between the people of West Africa and those of North Africa. After ruling much of West Africa for over 700 years, the Ghana Empire was defeated by Muslim Arabs in 1076. When Ghana fell, the valuable caravan routes it had protected became dangerous and trade suffered. But another empire arose in the grasses of the savannas. This new Mali Empire was founded in 1235 by the young king Sundiata, whose name means hungering lion. Sundiata recaptured the gold-producing areas of West Africa and re-established the gold and salt trade. Profits from trade made Mali's emperors rich and powerful. Mali's most famous emperor was Mansa Musa, who came to power around 1312 and ruled the empire for 25 years. Mansa Musa was a devout Muslim. Islam had been introduced to West Africa by Arab traders about 1,000 years earlier, and it spread along trade routes. Mansa Musa was one of the first rulers to make Islam his empire's official religion. But Mansa Musa wasn't content to simply practice Islam in Mali. He wanted to make the pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca in modern Saudi Arabia. This pilgrimage, called the Hajj, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, or duties that a faithful Muslim should perform. In 1324, Mansa Musa set out for Mecca. But he didn't make the journey as a humble pilgrim. Mansa Musa turned it into a royal occasion. He brought thousands of officials and slaves with him. He loaded more than 80 camels with sacks of gold and dressed himself and his servants in rich silks and jewelry. It's said that Mansa Musa and his followers spent and gave away gold so generously that they upset many of the local economies they passed through. They left behind so much gold in Cairo, Egypt, that gold became almost commonplace there and lost much of its value. By the time Mansa Musa completed his pilgrimage, the incredible wealth of his empire had become widely known. Mali standing in the world soared, and even more trade and wealth came to its market cities. Mansa Musa used his wealth to spread the religion of Islam. He brought Egyptian artists to Mali to build fabulous mosques. He also brought Muslim scholars to teach the basic beliefs of Islam. He had a new palace built in Timbuktu. This city had served as a bustling center of the gold and salt trade for centuries. Merchants traveled long, dangerous roads to gather in Timbuktu to buy gold or slaves in exchange for Saharan salt and North African cloth and horses. Under Mansa Musa, the city was transformed into a center of Islamic culture and teaching. Soon, Timbuktu overflowed with students and scholars from around the Muslim world. But it wasn't just Islam that the scholars of Timbuktu studied. Doctors there pioneered new operations on the human eye, and mathematicians reworked ideas from India to create the Arabic numerals that form the basis of today's numbering system. Mansa Musa had transformed Mali's wealth into lasting monuments and a commodity even more valuable than gold: knowledge.
You've been given all the information. Now it's your turn to discuss the questions. Take a moment to talk about the following.
How can trade affect a growing civilization?
How can wealth help make leaders and their ideas more popular?
We hope you've enjoyed this assignment discovery journey into the empires of early Africa. If you'd like to learn more about what you've just seen, go online or check out these books at your local library.
That's a wrap for today, but tune in next time as we unravel some of the secrets of ancient Greece and Rome. We'll watch the birth of ancient Greece and Rome, experience the death of the Roman city of Pompeii, and see how the young Byzantine Empire kept the Roman heritage alive. Join us next time for Enduring Influence, Rome, Greece, and Byzantium, here on Assignment Discovery.